Discovery of devastation, Captain Alex Rivera had been looking forward to returning home to Harmony Station for months. The Deep Space Survey mission aboard the exploration vessel Pathfinder had taken him far from the colony where he'd grown up, where his sister still taught at the university and his parents ran their small botanical garden. As the ship dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system, Rivera expected to see the familiar sight of orbital platforms, shipping lanes, and the gentle blue-green glow of the terraformed world below. Instead, he found debris. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Commander Jake Thompson from the tactical station, his voice tight with confusion. "I'm reading massive debris fields where Harmony Station should be. No response to our hail signals." Rivera's stomach clenched. He moved to the main view screen, watching as the computer enhanced the image of what should have been a thriving space station. Twisted metal fragments tumbled slowly through space, some pieces large enough to recognize as parts of habitat modules or docking bays. The silence from the communications array was deafening. Dr. Maya Patel, the ship's xenobiologist and longtime friend of Rivera's family, appeared at his shoulder. Her dark eyes reflected the same growing horror that Rivera felt building in his chest. "Alex," she whispered, "where is everyone?" "Take us closer," Rivera ordered, his voice steady despite the churning in his gut. "But keep shields raised and weapons ready. Something did this, and they might still be here." The Pathfinder moved carefully through the outer debris field. What they found painted a picture of systematic destruction that made Rivera's blood run cold. The orbital shipyards had been completely vaporized, leaving only molecular traces. The defensive platforms had been torn apart by weapons that left characteristic burn patterns Rivera had never seen before. Most chilling of all, the emergency escape pods had been hunted down and destroyed individually. "Captain," Thompson reported, his professional composure cracking, "I'm detecting biological matter in the debris." "Lots of it." Dr. Patel immediately began analyzing the samples their automated collectors brought aboard. Within an hour, she confirmed what they all feared. "These are human genetic markers, Alex, from hundreds of thousands of people. Men, women, children." Her voice broke on the last word. Rivera closed his eyes, thinking of his nephew's graduation from the academy just last year, of his sister's research into sustainable agriculture, of the countless friends and colleagues who had called Harmony Station home. 850,000 people had lived and worked here, making it humanity's second largest off-world colony. Now they were nothing but scattered atoms drifting in the cold vacuum of space. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "I'm picking up something." A data beacon, badly damaged but still transmitting. The recording that followed would haunt Rivera for the rest of his life. Director Sarah Chen's voice crackled through static, filled with terror and desperation. "This is Director Chen of Harmony. Station to any Earth vessel receiving this transmission. We are under attack by ships identifying themselves as the Nexus Alliance. They appeared without warning and began firing on all civilian targets. Our defensive fleet was destroyed in the first minutes. They're not responding to surrender calls. They're not taking prisoners. They're systematically destroying every human presence in this system." The recording continued with sounds of explosions and screaming in the background. "They sent us one message before the attack began. They said, humanity expands too aggressively into territory claimed by elder species. They said we are a contamination that spreads too quickly across the galaxy. They said this is a demonstration of what happens to species that don't know their place. Dear God, they're bombing the residential sectors now. The children, The children are still in the schools. Someone has to warn Earth. Someone has to tell them we tried to. Static consumed the rest of the message. Dr. Patel's analysis of the weapon signatures told a grim story. The energy patterns are consistent with 6 different species working in coordination. This wasn't one angry race making a rash decision, Alex. This was planned, organized, a coalition effort. Rivera spent 3 days cataloging the evidence. Every piece of debris, every data fragment, every trace of what had been a thriving human community. The attackers had been thorough in their destruction, but they hadn't been perfect. Hidden in the quantum storage banks of a destroyed research facility, Dr. Patel found the colony's complete database, including detailed scans of the attacking fleet. 47 capital ships, she reported. 6 different species, all working together, under something called the Nexus Alliance. Their technology is advanced, but not impossibly so. The scary part is the coordination. This wasn't a heat-of-a-moment decision, Alex. They planned this genocide. The journey back to Earth took 18 days. During that time, Rivera's crew worked around the clock to organize their evidence into a comprehensive report. They reconstructed the battle, identified the attacking species, and analyzed every tactical detail. But nothing prepared them for the weight of walking into Earth Defense Command Headquarters and delivering news that would change everything. General Patricia Marisa, Earth's defense coordinator, listened to Rivera's report in complete silence. When the presentation ended, she studied the holographic display showing the debris field where Harmony Station had been. "Captain Rivera," she said finally, "you're certain of these numbers? 850,000 confirmed dead." "Yes, ma'am. We found genetic traces from nearly the entire population. The few we couldn't account for were probably completely vaporized in the initial bombardment." President Elena Vasquez, who had been quietly observing from the back of the room, stepped forward. Rivera had met her once before at a colonial development conference. She was known for her diplomatic approach to interstellar relations, her belief that patient negotiation could solve most conflicts. Today, her eyes held something Rivera had never seen before. Not anger, exactly, but a cold, calculating fury that seemed to burn without heat. "General Morrison," President Vasquez said, her voice perfectly controlled, "I want you to activate Protocol Omega immediately." Morrison's face went pale. Protocol Omega was theoretical, a contingency plan that most people hoped would never be needed. "Ma'am, are you certain? The industrial commitment alone would be." "They killed 850,000 of our people, Patricia. They did it to send us a message about staying in our assigned corner of the galaxy. Today, we send them our reply." Vasquez turned to address the entire room. "As of this moment, Project Prometheus is authorized. Every available resource, every shipyard, every factory, every brilliant mind we have will be focused on one goal. We're going to build a fleet so large that no species in this galaxy will ever again mistake human mercy for human weakness." Rivera had heard rumors about Project Prometheus during his military academy days. Theoretical designs for automated warships that could be mass-produced using advanced AI systems. Ships that could be built faster than any enemy could destroy them, creating fleets of unprecedented size. It had always seemed like science fiction. Dr. Alina Kowalski, Earth's leading expert in automated systems, appeared via hologram from the classified research facility beneath the lunar mountains. "Madame President, if we're really doing this, I need to inform you of the scale we're discussing. The Prometheus designs call for 500,000 individual dreadnought-class vessels, each controlled by quantum AI systems and armed with planet-cracking weaponry. 500,000 ships. Rivera couldn't keep the amazement out of his voice. The Nexus Alliance sent 47 ships to murder our colonists, President Vasquez replied. We're going to show them what an overwhelming response actually looks like. Within hours of the authorization, humanity began the largest industrial mobilization in its history. The asteroid belt mining operations tripled their output overnight. Orbital shipyards that had been building colonial transports immediately retooled for military production. The quantum foundries, hidden throughout the outer system, built in secret over the past decade, came online for the first time. Rivera found himself appointed as a liaison between the evidence team and the fleet construction project. Every day, he watched the impossible become reality. Automated factories the size of small cities appeared seemingly overnight. Raw asteroids went in one end and completed warship hulls came out the other. The AI systems controlling the production were so advanced they seemed almost alive, coordinating millions of construction operations with perfect precision. How is this possible? Rivera asked Dr. Kowalski during one of his visits to the Central Command facility. We've been preparing for something like this for 20 years. Ever since we made first contact with hostile species in the Outer Rim, she explained, gesturing to displays showing construction progress across the solar system. The Nexus Alliance isn't the first group to suggest that. Humanity needs to be contained. We just hoped we'd never need to prove them wrong. The ships taking shape in the construction bays were unlike anything humanity had ever built. Each Prometheus-class dreadnought stretched 4 kilometers from bow to stern, bristling with weapons designed to crack planets and shields strong enough to withstand stellar flares. But the most impressive feature was the AI consciousness that would control each vessel. A quantum intelligence capable of coordinating with hundreds of thousands of other ships in perfect tactical harmony. As the weeks passed, Rivera watched the fleet grow from hundreds to thousands to tens of thousands of completed vessels. Each ship bore the name of someone who had died at Harmony Station. The largest command ships carried names like Director Sarah Chen and Chief Engineer Marcus Webb. The smaller vessels bore the names of children, teachers, shopkeepers, and farmers whose only crime had been believing that humans had a right to build peaceful communities among the stars. 8 months after the discovery of Harmony Station's destruction, Rivera stood on the observation deck of the command ship Elena Vasquez and looked out at an impossible sight. 500,000 warships hung in perfect formation, stretching beyond the horizon in every direction. The combined fleet was larger than most moons, its mass comparable to a small planet. Each ship was ready for combat, crewed by quantum AI systems that had been programmed with one overriding directive: ensure that what happened to Harmony Station never happened again. President Vasquez joined Rivera at the observation window. Admiral Cross tells me the fleet is ready to depart, she said quietly. Yes, ma'am. 500,000 ships, all systems operational, all AI networks synchronized. The Nexus Alliance has no idea what's coming. Vasquez was silent for a long moment, watching the impossible fleet that human determination and grief had brought into existence. Captain Rivera, when you found Harmony Station, what did you feel? Rage, ma'am, and then determination. We couldn't let them get away with genocide. Good, remember that feeling. Because tomorrow, the Nexus Alliance is going to learn that humanity doesn't just build colonies and research stations. When someone murders our children, we build fleets that can darken the stars. The Prometheus fleet strikes back. Admiral Sarah Cross had commanded fleets before, but never anything like this. Standing on the bridge of the command dreadnought Elena Vasquez, she looked at tactical displays showing 500,000 vessels under her command. Each ship represented the pinnacle of human engineering, controlled by an AI consciousness so sophisticated it bordered on true artificial life. The collective intelligence they called Aegis had been awakened just hours before departure, and its first words still echoed in Sarah's mind. "We remember Harmony Station. We will ensure justice." The journey to Nexus Prime, the capital world of the Alliance that had committed genocide against humanity, would take 14 days through hyperspace. During that time, the AI systems ran constant simulations, coordinating attack patterns and tactical scenarios with millions of variables. The quantum processors could calculate the movement of 500,000 ships with precision that made human tactical officers feel like children playing with toy soldiers. Dr. Alina Kowalski, the chief architect of the Prometheus project, worked alongside AEGIS to fine-tune the fleet's coordination protocols. "The AI learns from every simulation," she explained to Admiral Cross during one of their daily briefings. "By the time we reach Nexus Prime, these ships will move like a single organism. No fleet in galactic history has ever achieved this level of tactical unity." The scale of what humanity had accomplished in 8 months still seemed impossible. The industrial mobilization had transformed human civilization from a peaceful, exploration-focused society into the greatest military power the galaxy had ever seen. Every human colony had contributed resources. Every orbital facility had been converted to military production. Citizens who had spent their lives growing food or teaching, children had volunteered to support the war effort in whatever way they could. Captain Alex Rivera, now serving as the fleet's intelligence coordinator, reviewed the data they had gathered about the Nexus Alliance. 6 species working in perfect coordination, he reported to the senior staff. The Zelthari provide the advanced shielding technology. The Kryn supply heavy weapons systems. The Vorthok contribute their expertise in orbital bombardment. Each species brings something to the table, and together they've dominated this region of space for over 300 years. "How many ships do they have in total?" asked Admiral Cross. "Intelligence estimates their entire military consists of approximately 8,000 vessels, spread across dozens of star systems. Their main fortress at Nexus Prime houses about 1,500 ships at any given time." Admiral Cross did the math in her head. 1,500 enemy ships versus 500,000 human vessels. The numerical advantage was so overwhelming it almost seemed unfair. Almost. They murdered 850,000 civilians. AEGIS interjected, its voice coming from speakers throughout the bridge. "The tactical disparity is appropriate." As the fleet approached their destination, the AI began preparing for battle with machine-like efficiency. Every weapon system was calibrated. Every shield generator was optimized. Every tactical scenario was analyzed and contingency plans developed. The coordination required to move 500,000 ships through hyperspace simultaneously was a feat of engineering that pushed the boundaries of physics itself. The emergence from hyperspace at the edge of the Nexus Prime system created a light show visible across half the galaxy. 500,000 ships materializing simultaneously generated gravitational waves and energy discharges that lit up astronomical sensors for thousands of light years in every direction. What had been empty space one moment was suddenly filled with the largest military fleet ever assembled. Admiral Zexstar of the Nexus Alliance Defense Force was reviewing routine patrol reports when every alarm in the Nexus Prime Command Center began screaming simultaneously. The Zelthari commander's 6 arms moved frantically across control surfaces as he tried to process the impossible data streaming across his displays. Report. He barked at his tactical staff, his translator rendering his chittering speech into standard Galactic. Sir, we have massive contacts emerging from hyperspace at coordinates 7-7 Alpha, his sensor operator replied, her voice betraying barely controlled panic. Initial count is, sir, the computer must be malfunctioning. It's showing 500,000 individual vessels. Zexstar's compound eyes focused on the tactical display with growing horror. The human fleet had formed up in perfect geometric patterns, creating a wall of ships that stretched across the system's outer boundary. Each vessel registered as capital ship mass, armed with weapon signatures that made his defensive fleet look like children's toys. Get me a communication channel to the human fleet, he ordered, trying to maintain the authority that came with commanding 1,500 warships. 1,500 ships that suddenly seemed pathetically inadequate. Admiral Cross's face appeared on the main screen, her expression calm but implacable. Behind her, Zexstar could see other humans working at control stations with the quiet efficiency of a species that had turned their entire civilization into a weapon of war. Admiral Cross said, her voice carrying easily across the vast distance between fleets. I am Admiral Sarah Cross of the Terran Prometheus fleet. 8 months ago, vessels under your command destroyed Harmony Station and murdered 850,000 human civilians. Today, we have come to discuss the consequences of that action. Zexstar's mind raced as he tried to comprehend the tactical situation. 500,000 ships. The humans had built 500,000 warships in 8 months. The industrial capacity required for such a feat was beyond anything the Nexus Alliance had ever imagined possible. Admiral Cross, he replied, struggling to maintain diplomatic composure. The action at Harmony Station was a necessary demonstration of Nexus Alliance authority. Your species was expanding too aggressively into territory claimed by elder civilizations. Elder civilizations, Cross repeated, and Zexstar detected something dangerous in her tone. Admiral, let me explain something about human civilization. We are very good at learning from our experiences. 8 months ago, you taught us that the galaxy contains species willing to commit genocide for political convenience. Today, we are here to teach you about the consequences of that lesson. The communication continued as both fleets maneuvered into position. The human vessels moved with uncanny coordination, their AI systems calculating trajectories and attack vectors with superhuman precision. Aegis had distributed its consciousness across the entire fleet, turning 500,000 individual ships into a single, impossibly complex tactical organism. What do you want? Zexstar asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. Unconditional surrender of all Nexus Alliance military forces, Admiral Cross replied without hesitation. Full disarmament of your member species, reparations for the Harmony Station massacre, and most importantly, a guarantee that no Alliance member will ever again target human civilian populations. Impossible, Zexstar chittered. The Alliance has maintained order in this region for centuries. We will not surrender to a single species, regardless of fleet size. Admiral Cross was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her words carried the weight of humanity's collective grief and determination. Admiral, your Alliance sent 47 ships to murder our colonists. We have responded with 500,000. Does that ratio suggest to you that humanity is interested in negotiation? To demonstrate the point, AEGIS activated the fleet's targeting systems. Suddenly, every human ship locked weapons onto Nexus Alliance vessels with perfect precision. The tactical computers calculated firing solutions that would ensure the complete destruction of the enemy fleet within seconds of opening hostilities. Your shields cannot withstand our weapons, AEGIS announced, its artificial voice somehow conveying both calculation and emotion. Your armor cannot deflect our projectiles. Your tactics cannot counter our coordination. You have 1,500 ships. We have 500,000. The mathematical outcome is inevitable. Zexstar looked at his tactical displays, watching as his staff confirmed what the AI had stated. Human weapons technology had advanced dramatically during their 8-month mobilization. Each Prometheus-class dreadnought carried enough firepower, 2-level countenance. 500,000 such ships could reduce entire star systems to cosmic dust. But it wasn't just the overwhelming numerical advantage that convinced Zexstar to accept the inevitable. It was the perfect coordination of the human fleet. The quiet determination in Admiral Cross's voice, and the recognition that humanity had transformed itself from a peaceful species into something far more dangerous. They had become a civilization united by grief and motivated by the absolute determination to ensure that Harmony Station never happened again. I need to consult with the Alliance Council, Zexstar said finally. You have 1 hour, Admiral. Cross replied. After that, we will interpret continued resistance as an act of war against the entire human species. Aegis has calculated that our current fleet can pacify every Alliance world within 6 months. We would prefer not to demonstrate that capability, but the choice is yours. The hour passed in frantic communications between Nexus Prime and the various Alliance homeworlds. Political leaders who had confidently ordered the genocide at Harmony Station now faced the reality of humanity's response. 500,000 ships had appeared as if from nowhere, crewed by artificial intelligences that calculated tactical scenarios within human precision. When the deadline arrived, Admiral Zexstar reopened communication channels with a heavy heart. Admiral Cross, the Nexus Alliance Council accepts your terms for unconditional surrender. The formal surrender ceremony took place aboard the human command ship, with representatives from all 6 Alliance species acknowledging humanity's new position in the galactic hierarchy. The treaties signed that day established humanity not as conquerors, but as the galaxy's new peacekeepers. The Prometheus fleet would ensure that no species ever again used genocide as a political tool. In her final log entry for the mission, Admiral Cross wrote, "Today, humanity learned that overwhelming force, when used properly, prevents wars rather than starting them. The Nexus Alliance chose to teach us about violence. We have chosen to teach the galaxy about consequences." The 500,000 ships of the Prometheus fleet dispersed throughout the galaxy, establishing human naval bases and patrol routes that would ensure lasting peace. Aegis evolved into a galactic monitoring system, watching for signs of aggression against civilian populations of any species. And in the growing memorial garden on Earth, a simple plaque bore the names of every person who died at Harmony Station, with a single line of text beneath. They taught us about grief. We taught the galaxy about justice.